Lusanohar. And I want to know, would you be interested in if I made like a 10-minute share or a 10 or 15-minute share and sent it to you on Skype on the on the uh, on the come on, get it out, on the Rashash, where the Rashash is said, because it's interesting that as we're learning over here in the Tiv, and he's laying out, so I guess the basic ideas of what should be in the Siddur and how should be said. You have over on the over there a kind of slightly different version, are more punctuated. It's not really very hard piece. So I don't know. Would you like me to do it like that? I could do that.
I probably wouldn't get around to it though.
Huh? You wouldn't get around to it? Okay. So would you like to see it also here? We could do it at the end or whatever. It's not complicated, but I think it's something important because he synthesizes it as he goes. So we're going to do it at the end. So we'll start over here in on page Tuf Kuf Samach Gimel, and let's see what this has to say. It's starting. We're going to start on number Kuf Lamed Ches V'Achar Kach. Let me see. Ma Minhag Rav Lomer Achar Ketoret Gimel Pamim Hashem Tzvakois. So I guess let's just read down below in this case. Kuf Lamed Ches. If it's Achar Kach, after this Achar Shamarto call Habraisas. Now they said the whole brisa, the introduction of the Ketoret. Ad sofa pasuk until you get to the end of the pasuk. He calls sor v'chol davash, which this he's quoting that lo sakticha b'meno ish la Hashem. Has tomer shlosha pesukim elo Hashem tzivokos imanus are these three pesukim that we repeat. Now, I don't know about you. I know that you're probably holding very strongly by the Nusach Ashkenaz, and where I'm at, almost everybody here is Ashkenaz. There's very, very few people who are come from a Hasidic background. You could just see by the way they put on tefillin. Everybody here is either an Oberlander or a Litvak. So you have constant streaming of just Nusach Ashkenaz. So I, on the other hand, not doing Nusach Ashkenaz. I'm still working on the Sfard Siddur in the Rishash. So that's why I say that. I was just trying to think that I'm getting to a point where I feel like I can really digest the Rishash better, but need to say it out. Achar Miras HaKetoret, so he says, after you say the Ketoret, he says, Tomer Shlosha Pesukim Alalu. So now we said the Ketoret. So we went through the Ketoret. And now we come to these three Pasukim. The first one is Hashem Sefakos Imanim Iskatlano Elokei Yaakov Salah. And the reason why I brought that up is because the different Siddurim have different ways they handle this. I think that in the Sfardi, it's not repeated three times. But elsewhere it is, or it is repeated three times. I can't remember exactly. I'll see it later on. They don't have every part of it, as the Zohar says, in different places. And then number two is Hashem Tzavakos Ashrei Adam Bateach Bach. So normally it's said three times. And then number Gimel is Hashem Hoshiach Hamedi Yaneda B'Yom Karenu. We say all of those things. Because they have a tremendous, their significance is really amplified over here when you're saying this. That's what the Rav said. If the Durim Nidfas Gam Lomer Pasag V'Arva L'Hashem Minchas Yehuda of Yerushalayim Kimei Oilim Shana Kamonios. Now, one of the things I think I'm remembering better now, as I'm not looking at it, is this phrase Arvar L'Hashem Minchas Yehuda is also, there is a phrase that appears in Ashkenaz, and it also appears in the Nusach Sfard. He says, where it says, Alta Seisele Mitzar Tetzreni. So over there in the Zohar, I saw that this is a phrase that could be repeated three times. Also, it doesn't appear in the Sfardi Siddur. So he says you could repeat it three times forward, and then if you do it three times backwards, you'll see that it actually says the same thing backwards as well as forwards. And the blue and white are the color Siddur that we have. It says over there, this is a segula for a time of plague. So bar minan, as we see. V'arvel l'Hashem minchas Yehuda v'Yerushalayim ki me olam rishanim kadmios. We put that phrase in there. He says, not talking about Atar Seiser, because, like I say, it doesn't appear in the Sfardi. In the Shaar Hakavnot, you see it over there. Well, here we are in the Shaar Hakavnot. So this is the way Morizal did too. His siddur was like this also. So he says b'kol pam. So he says this should be stated every time. Shehoya omer pito mekataris. A Rav noag b'kol pam shehoya omer parshas pito mekataris. Whenever he would say pito mekataris, he would finish off with these. Lomer achar kachim. He said after that as Eilach HaShlosha Pesukim Hashem Tzivakoi Simanu. Hashem Sivachos, Ashrei Adam, Hashem Hoshia, etc. Going on. Now let's see a little bit more. Kodem at tefillah, before this also said, it's early, it's before the tefillah. Heim Kash Amr Parshas Ketoret Nechat Tefillah Shatras. This you say at that time. V'acharachon, not just there though, but even afterwards we want to say it too. V'cheim Kash Amr Parshas Ketoret L'Acharach Tefillah, so that we say after tefillah. Because the tefillas and mincha, and before we get to the tefillas and mincha, the Hemkish Amr Parshas Ketoret the tefillas and mincha, he said zman hamegefa. So this coming into this idea now. The Gam Kish Amr Parshas Ketoret b'van sheyesh megefa. So we understand that the concept of megefa is rectified, as we know. We see in the Parshas and Pinchas over there that we brought around Ketoret. Shechas v'sholem shelo yihi ezer atzleinu. Chas v'sholem that we should have this situation. Bar minan, he says, to this. Tikun acher, here's another tikun. Yesh od tikun acher be'amiris pito k'peteris, something else we put in. V'chein segula la'atzo megefa, and also is very good for stopping a plague. Because also you could use it. I think he's talking about the Ketoret now, or this pasuk, to be able to to bring a person to tshuva. Kosev Rabbeinu HaKodesh and Rizal, he says, the Rizia says like this, that the time when there's a plague, we just went through a plague, the tshuva, to try to bring people to repentance. So once again that we say, well, we're at a time of war now. V'yarim karim kedusha, and they will lift up the horn of kedusha for the atzah megefa, and as a result of that, stop the plague. Okay, so actually I jumped ahead a little bit. So let's look at the top. He says Shnei tikunim anaasim ayedera b'miris Ketoret. So he's going to talk about this. Let's go down below and keep moving along. So we're actually on number Kuf Nun, Kuf Mem Tes. So Sheyakaven ba'achad ases simane Ketoret. Haydach Sheyakaven ba'achad ases simane Ketoret. So he says the 10. What are the 10? Let's just try to understand this. They are 10 sparks of kedusha sheyarda d'mata b'sach kali, that wind up going down into the kali. Now, I just had a question about this, because in the actual shvira, all 10 don't go down there, or don't go down into the kali. Only the zat, or the bottom part of the nikudim of Zeranpin go down into the kali. Here he says let's count it as 10, which we could do too. So the 10 of the simamanim that you have in the count of 11, they refer to the sparks of kedusha that fell into the kali. Sheyardo me'eses sefiras the kedusha the mata v'niknasu l'socha kali, and they entered into the kali. Lahachniim. So he said tachlis hagavana sheyardo be'eses the tzuz is a part. Now let's try to understand this. He says the purpose The Kavana Sheyarda Reb Esed the Tzutza Me'esed Sefirs the Socha Kali. Why? Hoyu Kedei Lahachnia Es Kali. Now I thought it's the Kali captured them, or so to speak, they enlivened the Kali, which is the falseness. So he says Lahachnia Es Kali. So they actually went down there in order to humble the Kali. So he said V'ha'echad Anoisav Alechem, and then of course we have the Makiv a Samamim. And he's running it as Simomin. Now, Echad also the 11th of it, Nosev al Es Simomin Ketoret, which is added on to them. Who or Makav, we understand La'es Niskarim. It's actually a part of the 10, but it's outside of the 10. So we're just learning about the outside of the beard. So let's say La'es Niskarim Echad Asach B'Mosev La'es Simominim, who or Hamakiv is the surrounding light. I'll call Eses Sphirish Kali on the 10 lights, the 10 spheros that fell into the Kali. So he say, why does it do this? So in order, it all comes down that the whole idea of these lights is to kill out falseness. So what's the tikkun? How in fact do you affect this? So the kavanah should be when you're saying the Ketoret. We end up with another little break coming up here. This is Baruch Fleischman, Tikkun Elevator Kol Elam. We're praying to Hashem that the light of the Zohar that we're learning should help to save the lives of the Jewish people in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, we're back again. Hatikun hu l'kaven be'es amiris ha'ketoret l'salak metoch ha'pnimius ha'kali. So that's the idea of saying that, is to pull out the ore that's down below, stuck in the kali. As Esach and Nitzutzos, the Esach Sefiros of Kedusha, take out the 10 Nitzutzos of the 10 Sefiros of the Kedusha. V'chein the Salik as Or Hamakif, and also to pull that out too. Shall the Kedusha Hamakif Ata as a Kali, which is now surrounding the Kali. Val Yedei Kach. So I'm not hearing exactly. It's really, I think, more illuminating in the Rishash, what he's saying here. So he said, "Al Yedei came then through this Al Yedei shemisalkim as a kedusha b'kali, by taking the kedusha out of the kali." He says, "Yishara rabakali mezin bilti hiyus." There's nothing to keep them alive, and the lies fall. Came in Shemotziim al Yedecha b'bibus akatan. So we find when we're saying Taurus, when we're saying the Taurus as nitzutzas akadusha machakali. So what we're doing here, we're saying this. We're dealing with the nitzutzas that are in the kali. The chen the she'arim makali meisim. So therefore, when you take them out, they remain dead. B'li chiyus. There's nothing to power them. It's interesting. So over here in my house, well, just to say, we listen to the news. So the news over here is all about lies, one lie after another, and it winds up in bloodshed. So let's see what the next one is. Let's see, we're still working number Kufnod Ches. It says, Tikun Asheni Yesh Tikun Sheni, She'osim Be'esim Miris Parshas Ketoret. It's another Tikun. So we're going to go through these Tikunim. And that's the purpose of bringing people back to Tshuva. Amiris Ketoret has this power from Moila Lahachzir as Ada B'Tshuva. Now, once again, if the question is that which part of the Ketoret? Is it the whole idea? Because each one of them, as you say them, you're pulling out, or how exactly does it work? And it's on hear it yet. So he says, Ki Bezeh Machnia HaKali, because in this way we're humbling down the Kali. Hatam Lazeh. So the reason for this. By saying the Ketoret, this is what's happening. You're beating down the Kali. And then it's easy to do tshuva. So in other words, what keeps us from doing tshuva is all the falseness in our lives. And then what we do, we humble down the Kali. And also, it has an effect on plagues. Bar minan. So let's look. We have just a few minutes. Let's see if we can read. Can we get through this next little blurb? Yeah. It says, Sham nizbayer yichud godol bepito makatoris. And now there we're going to explain a big time yichud that takes place when we're doing pito makatoris l'zman magefa, at the time of a plague. Barminan. Mesugul ma'od. So therefore, this is how this works very, very well for them. Od yichud acher. Here's another yichud. Now he calls it a yichud here. Amar li Morizal. He said lizman begefe bar minan. He says at that time. He says. Inyano, and let me tell you what its inyan is. He says, Adam, all neshamas, all of our neshamas, that is the godliness that's within us, hey mimashin is bara min sheva malche Adam, Edom demiso, so they are actually portions of what is being refined out, in other words, lost once again, we're bringing them out, min sheva malche Edom demiso, from the shvira. V'zecha v'sod omram, and this is the secret of what they say. Call Yisrael b'nei malachim heim. We are all the children of malachim. Which malachim is he talking about? The ones that broke. Because we say like that in the midst of the berurim, yesh ketzas pasula shelo huvru. There were always a certain amount of puzzle that was never refined out. Psulas naase eres v'sam hamav. So what is that? What happens then is that the psulas that are never refined out, naase eres v'sam hamav, they actually become a poison that kills. Hamam is the adam. So in other words, what doesn't get digested or bimavura, it winds up being hanging around. Maybe it's the adach bisman, the begeif, at a time that when bad times come, that's what kills the person. For who's so pasuk davek Hashem abach, that Hashem should cling to you as a dever, the plague. So the plague should cling to you. So there's a little mystery over here to try to understand what he's saying and the secret of this. So anyway, that's it today. Thank you for learning with me.